Y'all, I got with me today one of what I like to say, and correct. And you know what? You don't even have to correct me because it's in my head already, Dr. Robertson, and I've already revealed a little bit of who I got with me today. But one of my self-appointed mentors, a mover in the community, a doer in the community, Dr. Carlos Robinson. Dr. Carlos, welcome to This Is America. How are you, sir?
And I'm doing well. Appreciate you, brother Avery, man. That's
Sir.
humbling to hear you even say that. And I'm proud of the work you doing, and I look forward to continuing doing good work, great work with you.
Yes, sir.
You definitely one of those that's going to be the pillar in the community that hold up some end of it, and this is part of it. That platform giving people a voice. So, man, I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Anytime, man. And we talked a little bit in my old podcast. You dropped a bunch of gems in that. I'm going to share that here later on in the next week or two. But Dr. Carlos, he was in my path. God put him in my path when I first moved back to Oklahoma about 3.5 years ago. He was part of a listening session. And I knew immediately after some of the response that you gave in the listening session, how you led the room naturally. I knew right then that you were somebody that I needed to be able to be in the circles. I wanted to know what you knew. I
Yep.
wanted to know how you got there. I
Thanks.
wanted to know how you became the person you are. And so I want to use this perfect bridge right here and my curiosity just to tell us a little bit about who Dr. Robertson is at the core, because I feel like I got a good sense over the last 3 years that I've known you. But to the listeners that don't know Dr. Robertson, tell us a little bit about who you are at the core, Dr. Robertson.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I'm a servant leader. I had to find out what my leadership style is. It's hundreds of leadership styles that you can choose to be or you define yourself as, but a servant leader. I'm a product of the northeast side of Oklahoma City. I'm community, homegrown and bred. Man, everything that I've done has been about my people. And so that's just really me. Before like all of the titles, I'm a husband, a man of faith, someone who believes deeply in the people. And so everything that I do, man, is rooted in purpose and not just position. So a lot of people only see the position, they see the titles, they see the degrees, and they like, man, is he boasting? Is he bragging? Nah, God is good. Like I could have been anything else. And so what my calling has been at the core, God has called me to show possible. And I keep telling people that don't take nothing I didn't have to show y'all the build of our house. I didn't have to talk about my degrees being the first in my family to become a doctor, but God told me to show possible because there's so many outstanding people in our community that came before me, and more times they were told to be humble. So you humble yourself so much that I don't see nothing different. And in my community, if I don't see that positive side, I'ma probably choose the negative side because it's the most prevalent. So that's me at the core, man, a servant leader, transformational leader in this new role. So making stuff happen, bro. So great question.
Beautiful. Yeah, well said, man. And that's what I get too. You know, you hear people talking about, oh yeah, I got 40 acres in a Cadillac, you know what I'm saying? I just picked up this new pinky ring and yeah, man, I got this here bezeled out thing. And
Yeah.
you can tell where it's coming from, you know, and a mature person will see the things that that person have and say, okay. An immature person will say that that person's arrogant, this and that.
That part.
And people are able to break down that delivery and in person and how they engage when they talk about the things that they have. But from you, it's natural, it's authentic. You know that it's an inspiration versus a brag or someone that's out there boasting. You know that it's, hey, I'm telling you this is what I've gone through. And since I can do it, I know you can.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that I've been around you so many times that, you know, anytime you've been in a room, a new audience of people, and you told your story, it's coming from possibility. It's coming from, I know I did it, I could do it, you can. And that's what I love about you, brother. I mean, there's, you know, there's a lot of things that stick out about you, but how humble you are and how natural it is and how authentic it is. I'd like to see a carbon copy of you around the United States. I'm gonna be honest with you,
I
man.
appreciate that. Much obliged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you've got a bunch of titles, and we know who you are at the core. But let's talk about some of your titles and the work that you've done. I know when we met, you talked about some of the things that were missing in Oklahoma City, Northeast Oklahoma, Northeast Oklahoma City. Some of the things that were missing for men's health. One thing that you honed in on was um, mentorship. but that's one of your many titles. Tell us more, about some of the things that you've done professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, born and raised on the northeast side of Oklahoma City, one of my first leadership roles that I was given an assignment to was to be a leader of a hip hop dance crew. Everybody know me for that. That's chapter one of my life. So being a hip hop dancer, I had the leadership over 100 guys at the age of 16 years old. Taught me a lot because it was survival mode. We still had to figure out how could we perform at our highest capacity, but also then it became, everybody wants to plant the flags. It was a way to step away from gangs and the street life. And so then that started to feel gangish and cliquish and people against you, and now people want to fight over who won, who lost, all of those type of things. So as a 16-year-old leader of 100 people, I had to make critical decisions on how we navigate our community. But that ended up leading off into pretty much every stage of my life. I've always stepped up to the plate to be the leader. I was able to graduate from Douglas High School and then further my education at Oklahoma City Community College. I was the Black Student Association president, NAACP Youth Council president under the leadership of Dr. Claire Looper. So I got to watch a legend at work and how she brought other legends in our space to teach us as young leaders and pour off into us. I was first Black student body president at OCCC. So I was student body, student government president. And that leadership just kept going on all throughout. Black Student Association president at Oklahoma City University, and just all of those things. But in the work space, I had opportunity to be a assistant director of recruitment at OCCC, was my highest capacity, and then that gave me opportunity to go back in my community and recruit myself essentially. And from there, man, just been involved in several nonprofit organizations like Stop the Violence OK. So one of my bros that seen violence happen firsthand, as we all did, he wanted to act upon it, and I had his back. So we started dance camp. So look up Stop the Violence, and so much more. It went from like 5 students to now almost 500 over time. I mean, we're moving some things in the community,
Yeah.
but I'm always involved. I'm involved in so many different things, from my leadership at OCCC, Director of Admissions at Langston University, Senior Manager Outreach and Recruitment with Work Ready Oklahoma, and now the President and CEO of the Oklahoma City Black Chamber of Commerce. And then the way I push things in our community, often I'll go to an event and people be thanking me for throwing this event. And I have to humble myself and be like, I didn't throw the event. I just promoted it like it's mine. And that's how we should do in our community, promote things as is ours. Like, and so that's how you move something. So people assume that I'm leading that, but no, it's our event for our community. I'm all for it and I promote it and I, support it like that. So all kind of different leadership things that fell off into that. So I mean, in a nutshell, but
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
board you think of, I'm Minder School of Business board. There's so many different things that I've been on. Alumni
Yeah.
board with OCCC. So, yeah, for the most part, man, I'm just outside everywhere I can be of service. I'm there. And if leadership is needed in that space, I step up to the plate without questions asked. So,
Yeah. That's what's up, man. And you know what was deeper than that, Dr. Robinson, is you're in all these spaces and people don't really take count for what it's taking you to be there.
that
It's
part.
taking you away from doing other stuff with your wife. It's
Mhm.
taking you from wanting to go and disconnect and just be alone. If there's moments, and I know some men, we process things, like some things get heavy, and sometimes we might need to go in a closet. Sometimes we might need to take a long drive. You know what I mean? And I know that when you're in so many spaces, sometimes you feel like you're being pulled thin. And the way that you carry yourself in each of those spaces I've ever seen you in, you've got a smile on your face. And so I'm like, does this man ever get tired? And you're really there. You're showing up to make an impact, man. And all the titles that you hold, I've seen you in those spaces actually doing that work. And so I'm glad you're able to clarify that and shine a light on it for people that don't know. Now listen, I know that uh, you know, you didn't just wake up in this where you're at.
Yeah.
What kind of led you? What did you see? I know you mentioned that you started a dance club. I grew up in Lawton. You know, the violence down there is pretty rough, and up here in Oklahoma City, I'm sure you grew up in some of the violence, and I'm sure that probably sparked you to want to make and see some of this change that you're working towards. But what was it? Is there something that you can pinpoint that kind of that you've seen growing up that made you want to kind of get into this change of being a service leader, so that way you can influence change? I hope that question made sense. It probably got a little long winded, but what was it that that could stand out today that led you into want to go down this path?
It's a lot of things that pretty much shaped me. I mean, it's just from the struggles to the exposure, but for the most part, I saw potential everywhere. I mean, it's a bunch of potential. Like we got some of the most brilliant people in our city, in our
Yeah.
state, from the east side, from Lawton, and we sit on it, but it wasn't enough opportunity. So you can be talented, but it may be something a barrier breaking or a barrier you have to break down or it can't break down because it just wasn't, an option for you. I saw talented people without access. I saw, I was one of those smart kids without direction. I saw families working hard but not getting ahead. I mean, so all of that pretty much stayed with me, bro. It's like, how do you think about what changes could you be? So it made me realize that the issue wasn't about ability, it was more about the access and the alignment. And so when you start thinking about how you can contribute to your community, you have to start focusing on shaping yourself up to be that call. Like one of my favorite quotes, be the change that you wish to see. And you hear those things and you hear all of these different quotes that from people that came before you and just like, man, what does that really mean? And so I decided to be the change that I wish to see in my community. I'm that true essence of never forget where you come from and build where you come from. So our ancestors paved the way to get us from struggles that we don't have to struggle. Like Clara Looper again, she fought for open access in restaurants. We take that for granted because that's not the struggle that we had. But at her time, she had to do that. The community
Right.
had to do that for us to eat at a lunch counter, for us to shop in a certain space, for us to go through a front door of a building sound unheard of to us because we didn't experience. However, we still have our own struggles. And more times than not is we don't have that access to the things that could help our community prepare for. And so that's what I'm all about, man. I'm gonna create that wave. I'm gonna be what called it God has called me to be, and I'm gonna make it happen. And so showing possible is what I'm doing, brother. So
Beautiful.
yeah, man.
Beautiful said. Now you're running for office at District 99. Tell us a little bit of what kind of got you in um well, let me go back and ask this question because I have it written out. But you're running for District 99, and I want you to tell us how your journey kind of got you prepared for that seat. And do you think that, everything that you've gone through has prepared you for that seat? I know it's loaded with talent, people running in that district. But tell us what's got you prepared for that seat.
So so I prayed to God to give me an opportunity to create generational wealth in my community. That was my prayer. Say, God, I've checked these boxes, I've got these degrees. Now it don't make no sense for me to benefit from all of these things. So I need to pour back into my community to show possible as you called me to do. So the Black Chamber was an answer to that prayer, is what I found. Now, me running for state representative for House District 99, the very district that I was born and raised and grew up in. So that's another part of my calling, my answer to this is the way you'll create generational wealth. So basically, man, it's given me a front row seat to all of the things. So I've been in education, I've been in workforce development, economic development, all of those things have I had a front row seat to see it, at Langston University and through all of these nonprofits that I work with. It wasn't just, me talking about change. It was me actually helping people being connected to that change. And so, I learned how to build different pipelines, man, partnerships and programs and just that really actually move people forward. So man, God is good, brother. It's one of them. I just gotta continue to do the work. And like you said, it's a lot, man. I take my wife through a whole bunch to go through these type of things. But what I've done in the past is I prayed to God, and this was a consistent prayer growing up was, God, give me the strength and focus and guidance to deal with whatever I need to deal with and be able to navigate whatever I cannot control. And so I prayed that before things actually happen. And so when things start to happen and when these moments come about, I just get this God given strength to be like, hey, good day, good people. And I keep
Yeah,
that
yeah,
smile on my face.
yeah.
But that's the strength that's necessary to really actually enact change. And I'll
Yes,
close
sir.
this part with this, but through our doctorate program, my wife and I did our doctorate program together. We had four major deaths. It was right in the middle of COVID and all that. Four major deaths, and all deaths are major, but these are ones that was near and dear to our heart. It wasn't like, someone that was expected. We had to persevere and continue. Could have gave up then. Building this house, we had so many struggles. It took us 3 years to build a home that should have only took a year and maybe a year and a half or more, but it took us twice as much due to all of the barriers that were set in place for people like us in our community on this side of town. But God is good, was able to rebuild this house, this two-story home, 4,000 square foot home that my great grandmother bought in 1959 with her and her husband. They bought this in this lot. And so we had opportunity to do it, man. So I don't want to go on a tangent, but I just kind of, that's really it, brother. I mean, I prayed for it. I had a front row seat to see how it works. And now I'm just pouring it back into my community.
Well said, boss man. Well said. Now, listen, there it's not always peaches and creams, and you said it earlier when you've prayed for God to help you to, you know, do things that are in your control, and you pray for the things that were out of your control, and so there are things that some will count as individual responsibility as why this person might not have this thing or this person might be struggling there. With that being said, have you noticed any patterns that you've seen throughout your career that are holding people back?
Yeah, absolutely. I could probably think of 100 different things holding our
Yeah,
people back, but I think the
yeah.
three most important things that maybe stand out to me would be the lack of access,
Mm,
um, lack of exposure, and probably for me the most important one probably be the lack of belief. So
okay.
when you kind of break those
I hear
down, if
that.
you never seen it, it's kind of hard to pursue it, right?
Yeah,
So if you don't have access to it, then obviously you can't reach it, right? So you start to think about things like that. And so if also no one is pouring into you, then it's hard for you to believe it. So you think about those key points, like how can I really move forward if I haven't seen it? I don't have access to it, I don't have
yeah. Right,
exposure to it. I don't even know what I don't know what I don't know.
right.
And so that's why, again, I said God told me to show possible. And so that's why I step up to the plate and be loud and bold. But the aura that I bring into a room, that's a God given aura.
Yeah,
I don't want to be, I'm not even a super religious person. People keep saying I'm going to be a pastor. And I accept that if he called me, I'm following footsteps and orders. This calling for this state representative is not what I saw for myself because I don't like politics. I call them politics my whole life. And I still do in a sense because you playing games with people's lives. But some of the best people that should step up to the plate in these leadership
right.
positions are the ones that got those views. We're playing with people's lives, but how can I go in and articulate or show reasons behind why said policy and legislation will be detrimental to our community? Yes, that's
Right.
beneficial to your community, and it sounds brilliant, and I agree if I lived there. However, if you create that law, that policy for this district, it can be detrimental. It's enforced different in our communities, and that's when privilege don't get recognized. And so, God has given me the ability to go off in there to talk about that. So,
Yeah,
anyways, so back to question, mainly thinking about that lack of access, lack of exposure, and a lack of belief. Man, people lose hope after you've been suppressed for so long, and so.
yeah, yeah.
Again, God told me to show possible, and so I'm gonna keep showing people that it's possible. I just need people to band with me so we can make stuff happen.
That's right. That's beautiful. Now, someone who's worked in, and just let me just preface by saying I want to keep it central to the theme of the podcast. This is America,
Yeah.
and for you as someone who's worked in work HR or work ready specific fields, right? Getting people prepared for work, how to interview, working out in the community, being able to network and also mentor people within the community. And then also working in the chamber now, really seeing some of the numbers and some of the disparities. But that being said, what does America mean to you from your perspective in the scope that you've worked in and how deep you've been in the trenches or in the community? And from your perspective, it matters because you've been in so many important spaces and in important positions. And I'm just curious to what does America mean to you from being in those positions?
A tough question in today's climate, right?
Right, right. We got, hey, listen, we got the president being the president that he is and that people knew he was going to be. We got the war with Iran. We got wages stagnant, cost of living staying the same, and everything else going up. The wealth gap is growing. I mean, there's just so many miss or different feelings to have when that question comes up. And I know for me, it's a love hate relationship, and a lot of people probably say that. Some people say I love, the country is perfect, But what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like, hey, we've got a lot to work on. We've got a future. Are you fatalist about our future, or are you optimistic?
No, so to not go so down in the weeds, but just more surface level. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people forget that we're living in a free world and it's different in different countries. And so we gotta respect the fact that our problems that we may have are not the same problems that another country may have. So we can't,
Right.
smash our country and act like just because this one person that may be causing friction in our communities is what America all is. But
That part.
America to me is potential. Like it's one of the only countries where you have an opportunity to have the potential to be anything you want. It's not perfection, but it's also possibility. So the idea that no matter where you come from, where you start, I mean, you can build something meaningful to you. And that's what's so important about this election. You have a district. I can work my district until my position calls me higher. So I've done that in my entire life. My work is all about just making, I guess, looking at making promises that are real for more people to have meaningful access. And so the potential that America gives you, the freedoms that you have, it's a system. And I think the downside about our community and where I grew up is most people don't understand the system. Like they
Right.
put these
Yeah.
policies in place. If you don't understand the game that you playing in this system, which is beautiful when you can work it, you lose. I mean, the laws that they put in place and vote in, like this position, the local election is one of your most important elections.
Right.
So when you say, man, do my vote count? Yeah, yeah, it does. At the end of the day, yeah, absolutely. But it counts at certain stages. And I don't want to go off into why your vote count, but what I'm telling you is the local elected leaders that you vote for will be the decision makers when it comes to that major vote of presidency. How are the votes counted in the state? Where your um, elected officials will be the ones that'll decide, what president will be the next president. So, yeah, you may not can you vote for popularity during the presidency, but the ones you put in the seat beforehand were the lowest voter turnout. That's the part of the game. So that's when I say, man, people need to come out and vote for people like
Yeah.
myself that bro, I could be doing anything else. I could keep running this black chamber and we gonna
Right.
thrive. We've been thriving and mind my own little business in that space. But God has now called me for this. So this is the
Got you.
time where y'all gotta pull up. If you don't
Yeah.
show up, then we have another person. I'm not saying all candidates are bad candidates. What I'm saying is it may not have been the best choice because
Right.
you decided not to go cast your vote.
Right.
So
Right.
America gives you the potential to build what you see. America gives you the potential to, show possibility in your community, but it's not perfect. It's stuff that we got to work on. I think it's a divisive system when we're talking about politics. Sometimes even when you're talking about religion. one of my platforms or what I will say in the house, y'all got to put these blindfolds on. You got to put the blindfold on politics, what color you wearing versus
That's
me.
right.
Put blindfolds on race. Stop looking at my
That's
race and
right.
my economic status. Stop worrying about what my religious beliefs are because it's over 10,000 religions in the world.
Right.
And you talking
Yeah.
about, I'm worried about whether or not you believe this. What's the human aspect of how we should move forward? So I don't go too long with it, but I just want to give you enough context that, man, that's what I see America's potential, and I'm gonna eat it all up, and I'm gonna show my people how to do it. And I just need folks to be with me because God has called me to it. And if they feel it in their heart that I'm the man for the job, I'm gonna always get it done. Never
Yeah.
scared at anything, and so I'm ready to get it.
Yes, sir. Well said, man. And that's one thing that a lot of people will look at is the opportunities that are available here. And just thinking about the opportunity to be able to vote for someone that makes himself available like yourself, someone that you can contact and get feedback from like yourself. There's nothing more American than that, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Is having that local representative that's reachable, and that represents your community. So that's well said. Now I want to touch on your expertise and your experience so far in the Black Chamber, but I wanted to start with some national numbers. There are about 3.7 million Black owned business nationally. There's 161,000 of those businesses have employees. 3.5 million of our businesses have no employees. 95% of Black businesses only have between 45 or only earn between 45 and 65,000 yearly revenue. And in Oklahoma, there's about 80,000 businesses and only about 2,000 of them have employees, and 95% of them do not. Now, there's a big, heavy lift that a lot of Black leaders and scholars say that that's ahead of our future. We've got a heavy lift. But you're in that seat and you're seeing where we're at. With that being said, what's the current state of Black business in OKC?
That's a deep question because many of our businesses are first generation business owners.
Okay.
And so it goes back to that you
Mm,
don't know what you don't know. You look
right.
at some other business owners that's been able to scale. It may have been a business that their grandparents, great parents have passed down to them and they just had
Right.
to acquire it or they had access to all of the things to make that happen. So when I look at our Black businesses, I met with over probably, man, 250 people since I've been in this role. I'm talking about individual one-on-ones, just chopping it up with my people. I'm open, I'm accessible. And so with that being said, just looking at it, man, we have incredible talent, creativity, and resilience. We talking about businesses that, they're operating in survival mode, right? Like, man, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm trying to, these waves. We have even one business that had to almost pause their operations just for the fair coming through and being here for 2 weeks. Not thinking about, yeah, everybody goes to the fair. So you start to lose money. So you operating in survival mode, not knowing exactly how you're going to be able to move forward every single week. So there's a lot of undercapitalization,
Mhm.
under resources, a disconnection from the larger ecosystem. So much that just, is just not fair for Black businesses. It's just not fair. But the potential is there, bro. So I look at it
Yeah.
like we need to strengthen the structures around our businesses. That's what the Black Chamber is all about. That's what we're for. We're building an ecosystem of Black excellence. And so we help you break down all of those different barriers that you may face. We go and identify what you have to be challenged with or before the challenge comes. We got the Olympics coming up, and I don't even know if our businesses are prepared to withstand that type of demand. And that could tank your business overnight.
Yeah.
I'm talking about they're projecting over 300,000 additional people here in the state of Oklahoma during the Olympics. if you cannot meet that demand and these people start to, yeah, you got the Olympians doing their thing and they'll be on a structured schedule. You talking about their families are here. They're gonna be trying to, where's the best place to eat? We're smack dead in the middle of all of that, the northeast side, where the chamber resides, where a lot of our black businesses reside. You can get these people coming in from these different, not even United States, but different countries
Right.
that'll be right here that can go in your restaurant and you don't meet the demand or the needs, or if you treat them some type of way, they can care less how you feel about the comments they're about to post on Google Meets or
Right.
not
Right.
Google Meets, but Google reviews, and they can you get 100 bad comments of two or below. Nobody wants to come to your business from there. And now
Yeah.
you got to rebuild this. So my job is to reposition these black businesses to sustain those type of things. But again, you got to show up. I'm throwing it out there. We building these educational programs, and yeah, you can't continue to work in your business all the time. You got to pause for a minute and start to work on your business. Like, what are the things that you can do to help better guide you as you move forward, and how can we can help you scale? So
Yeah.
that's I guess that's what I believe would be kind of the current state of black businesses in Oklahoma. But to end with this part, man, we need 3,500 additional black owned businesses to even compete with on a national level. So that's what it looks like. Literally, that's statistics. So I look at my things as well. How can we
Yeah.
even be, competitive on a national scale? Well, we need 3,500 additional, and that's not brick and mortar businesses. It's just businesses in general.
Right.
You have a, daycare out of your house or whatever. It don't matter what the business is, but 3,500 more to compete on a national scale. So I digress
Yeah.
there.
No, I remember me and you had a conversation about the numbers, and I've been in some of the classes, Northeast Oklahoma Renaissance. Shout out to them; they're doing a phenomenal job too. And if I'm correct, you guys are partner doing some things together. I've been in some of the classes. I could show up more. I've gone to the shared space on Wednesdays, man, and Dr. Carlos is really about that life. The chamber is really about that life. They are really doing a lot with the little bit that they have. And we can get into allocations and resources and dollar amount and I'm gonna go ahead and say it reparations on another episode, but what we're limited to and what we have, the leaders and the people that are in these positions are really about that life and are doing the work. And so shout out to y'all. I've seen it at first glance, like within it. And so I've seen parts of that ecosystem, but what do you think creates a strong black ecosystem? What does that look like? I've seen parts of it, but you're right there with the blueprint. What are some things that we might not see that's creating that strong that black business ecosystem?
So I think some of the first things that we got to understand in a black ecosystem, you have to have ownership. You can always work from somebody and be a manager, but what do you own? That should be a part of it. You think about Black Wall Street ownership. They owned everything, and it was kind of forced, unfortunately, but fortunately. Like, you couldn't go across the tracks and get your bread from somebody else. You had to get it from within your community. You had to go focus on somebody that's doing those things, those services in your community. So that ownership circulated those dollars throughout the community more than they could imagine. But now our dollars is less than 6 seconds. It's gone. And people really don't understand what that means. So not to pick on them, but we have a beauty salon or a beauty store in the middle of our community. And when you go in there, you shop there, yes, you getting the products that you need that's going to be, help you look the way you want to look. But the owners of that, I'm sure they don't stay exactly next door to you.
Right,
So that dollar that you just gave immediately goes out of our community.
right.
But the services that's being provided in our community from even a gas station or a store or whatever's over there right now, and I'm speaking of the east side because that's predominantly black, all of those owners most of those owners don't live in that community. And so that's where we start to run into. Also, collaboration. I think everybody
Yeah.
believes that we are in competition with each other. We're not in competition, it's more to eat. You look at the demographics and the statistics of how many people in this community, everybody can eat. We're not in competition. When you start to get in competition, then you start to create risk amongst each other. So I'm talking bad about your restaurant, you talking bad about my restaurant. I don't even know which restaurant I'm gonna go to. So I'm just gonna go to this restaurant outside of this community. I ain't got time for it. It turned into those things rather than you go eat at their restaurant and post their food. Man, I love what I had. It was delicious. Or y'all come up with a strategic plan. I've seen one um food truck go around to different, and it's not a black food truck, by the way, but this food truck strategically had a plan that I'm gonna set my food truck up next to other businesses with them in collaboration to bring awareness to them. So as they're bringing awareness to them, guess what they doing? They bringing awareness to themselves because now you start to get their followers to follow you. But that type of collaboration continue to push our businesses forward. And then we have trouble with, scaling. So, an ecosystem of showing how businesses can scale and think about what's next. Yes, that was great. The hype is going to be there for the first year. People are coming, they flooding through. But once the hype goes away, your business start to plateau, start to how do you get it to continue to scale? Like what's next? What's the next innovation? What AI generated system you may utilize since it's coming? So all of those type of things. Again, our goal in a ecosystem is where businesses are not, you know, trying to survive. They're growing, they're hiring, they're investing into our community. They have access to capital, they have access to mentorships, they have access to contracts. So basically a culture where we support, circulating dollars within our community. And so that's what I see a black business ecosystem look like at its finest.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. And I'll just have to say, I work in, payment processing and fintech, and I've gone to damn near just about every business in Oklahoma City at least twice. But I've noticed the silos, and they might be intentional or unintentional, but they're there, right? And when the silos happen, you looking at it in business, it might turn into an ecosystem framework, right? And I noticed that in certain districts, the Asian district and so forth, South Side or whatever, there's this ecosystem, whether it be the grocery store to the boba to the ice cream shop to the whatever. You can see where they've kind of created this ecosystem to work within that community, and I can see now the work that you guys are doing, actually taking that approach, and it's great to be involved, honestly. And um it makes sense, and I think this is a good leeway into our next question, because some people that, and some of my good friends, Dr. Carlos, are white. You know what I mean? I grew up with them. I live with them in their homes, real tight. And I'll have to say too, in preface, by saying that the Black Chamber, just because it says Black Chamber, don't mean white people don't come to the events and white people don't support, because they do. I've seen them there, and Spanish and different ethnicities support the Black Chamber, and they're in those spaces. And so some of my friends, though, they see some of the content that I post is, they question me, why are you posting racist stuff? You know what I mean? And I don't doubt, I don't shame them or get upset with them, because some of that is their own ignorance, and I like to be informative on the data. And this is kind of a weird way to look at our community, but if I was a coach, I see all the strong things that the team does, and I'm talking team as America. But if we're looking statistically at ways that we can improve, maybe a free throw or layups or short game, I'm going to look at the player that can, work on the short game, or the player that needs that extra work. And if I'm looking at America through the framework as a coach, looking at improving some of our worst statistics, I'm looking at the wealth data. I'm looking at the social economic, the health disparities. And as I'm looking at all this data, especially throughout the nation in Oklahoma, I see that, the black median household wealth in Oklahoma is about $20,000, and the white median household wealth is between 140 and $180,000. And then we get down to household income. The black household income is 52,000, and the white household income is 78,000. Now, again, this is going to sound weird to say that, but if we're looking at the statistics, economically, health disparities, and all that, black Americans may be the weakest link at that area. And it brings about the question: what's driving the wealth gap from your perspective? Do you feel like there's some intentionality to draw that wealth gap to keep it the way it is, or what are your thoughts on that? What's driving the wealth gap?
That's a deep question, brother. To get to not get too deep, but to kind of just take it back,
Service.
and it's structural.
Mhm.
This United States, you got to understand the systems that were built in United States were built without us in mind. That's generational. So you got a generational lack of access, a generational lack of ownership, a generational lack of business ownership. So you got generations of things that just haven't happened in our community. I mean, high paying careers is just, I mean, we get paid less. We do most of the work, and you have the executives that are come in and they get all of the money and take it back to their communities. So it's not about the effort, man. We got some of the hardest working people in the world, right? We built this country. Let's just be transparent.
Right.
Hispanics are helping, people
Yeah.
of color are helping this country continue to thrive. So it's all about opportunities. It's all about the systems that were being built that haven't been equitable. So I mean, without going too deep, it's just the way the structure has been developed for us not to get ahead. And every time we take one step ahead, they make sure they come push us 5 steps back.
Yeah.
And that could go from anything. You think about us building this house, wanting to have home ownership, the barriers that my wife and I had to experience as two doctors with well-paying jobs. Credit, I'm not saying it's just the top, but it was the credit that you asked for, the questions that we receive, the delays that we received, all of the things, all of the barriers of a systematic approach to a black couple trying to move forward and have own home ownership is like none other. When I know for a fact we got white friends as well. I went to predominantly white institutions for my education. So I've worked with people in that space, and I get it. We got friends, and you got friends that'll tell you like, what? Like my credit's not even better than y'all's. And I walked in there, they didn't ask me 2 questions. They just said, here's, whatever you need. It's a difference. So that type of thing, man, that lack of having access to capital, home ownership, business ownership, that creates the gap.
Yeah.
That's just plain and simple.
Yeah, that's well said, and it's more powerful from someone that's a president of a business chamber. That's well said. I got a couple more numbers I wanted to share here, and this is kind of going to being more specific in our discussion, and being normal and accepted in spaces, non-black spaces to be particular. But in Oklahoma, there's about 4 million Oklahomans. 65% of them are white. 8% are black, 12% Native American, Latino, and 10% Native American. In Oklahoma City, there's a 14% black population. In Tulsa, there's a 16% black population. And in Lawton, there's a 19% black population. Now, someone who's working in chamber, and their responsibility and your goals are to draw and grow that business, the business structure, make sure they're sustainable, and to provide opportunities. We know that's a need, and we know that we need our non-black friends to be involved. Now, how do we stay specific to black Americans in the data while lifting all boats? Because it becomes this balancing act, right? If we're saying, hey, come get involved, this has been a historical devastation that our community has seen, and now we've got the people in place and we've got a plan we want to execute. But then there's other political parties and leaders saying, hey, well, we've got this group of people here and this group of people here that need this, that need this. Yes, we acknowledge that, but how do we keep the focus on the historical the historical abuse abuse and atrocities on the forefront, while also lifting all boats?
So to remain honest, man, I'm always just transparent. Like
Yes, sir.
when we address gaps in the Black community, we are strengthening the entire system. We can't just think that, targeted solutions, they don't divide. When you say, hey, we see issues over here in this community, that doesn't make us divided. No, it's, man, it looks like we can maybe create equity over here. And when you do that, that's when you see everyone benefit. People love Black food. Like, we're one of the
That's
only cultures in Oklahoma that don't have some place to say this is where Black excellence resides. So you can go to the South Side, you can feel the Hispanic community. You can
right.
go over here to the Asian district to
Yeah.
feel the history. You can't go and say here's where Black excellence is.
Yeah.
Go over and say this is where they all live, but when you ride down 23rd, that's just blocks away from or on the same street that the governor's mansion reside, you go past Kelly and you go down 23rd, like, okay, so what's really going on here? Where are the lights? Where are the buildings? Where are the
Or
structure?
investment. Yeah.
So you got, again, we have the 28 Olympics coming. These folks gonna be coming through and they're gonna be looking for things to do. They might have to ride up and down 23rd. They want to go past by the governor's mansion. They want to go to the Capitol. And then you can kind of see the difference between communities. That
Right.
shouldn't be the case. And
No.
anybody living in the state of Oklahoma should understand that, okay, we got enough. We're fine over here in our specific area, our district. We don't have to be greedy. Yeah, it'd be
Right.
great to have another store, another this, another that. But let's share the wealth and stop hoarding all of the things. And that's what this state representative position is. You talking about you go inside this house, and I'm a Democrat. It's only 20 Democrats versus 81. And I don't say versus like as we in competition, but technically it's 81 Republicans
Right.
and 20 Democrats. So they don't have to pass nothing that we might talk about that are beneficial to our community because they don't have a clear understanding of the needs of our community because they don't live there.
Right.
So that's an issue. So I have to
Yeah.
go in and articulate, hey, everything that you put forth that's beautiful for your community,
Right.
but where the struggles and the gaps are primarily in the Black community, and I'm looking to help fix those for our state's well-being. We rank number 50 in education. We're ranked, let's put it like this, we're ranked at the bottom of almost every statistical category you can find. And then we say, isn't this a great state of what? For home. And that's why people start to question, make America great again. And again, I'm not going to get into politics, but when we don't look at the specifics of the boats, as you mentioned, which boats are sinking, which boats are flourishing, which boats are sailing forward, then we don't do our whole entire community justice. So we cannot say that you don't enjoy the things that Black people bring to the table, our food, our culture, our vibes, from music, from all of the things. But when you don't invest in those communities, we as a people start to live in almost like a third world country right in the middle of your state. And that's just not fair. And so when you don't consider other races in this ecosystem, then it makes me question, where is your heart?
Mm.
Where's your
Mm.
collective growth in our people? We're not trying to take nothing from you.
Right.
But when you look at it, how much have we poured into this?
That's right.
How much have we poured into that? And I'll close with this. More times than not, our counterparts question anytime we receive anything. Statistically, like you said, we are failing at everything. But we get some of the smallest things. Say, for example, out of the millions of dollars dispersed in the city, the Claire Looper Center is receiving something to expand and build a beautiful facility for the community residents
Mhm.
northeast side to go have something. I go through and I read the
Comments.
comments
Yo.
like, wow, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about, can we have a moment?
Yeah.
Can we appreciate something? Can we celebrate one of our icons in our community without you always thinking that we want something from you and we should have done something else with that money? Yeah, we probably could navigate a lot of different things collectively, but don't bash the things that we do for our community. Bash the things that you're doing in your community that you didn't need, the extras that you receive, the benefits that you receive, the buildings, the structures, the landscape that you really didn't need to
Right.
have renovated at that time when we're living in what I said could possibly be equivalent to close to a third world country. Go over here and you can feel the difference as you drive through the community. So that's my thought on that, brother. I
Yeah.
digress. You're gonna get me on a tangent.
No, that's well said, man. And that's the reality, and I take this back to some of my friends that are non-black. I had a lunch meeting with one of my old friends, great Christian brother. He's white guy, great Christian, great man, and he'll give you the shirt off his back, um, and a place to stay. Yeah, my brother used to be really good friends with him and his family. They've always been respectful to me and my brother and my family. But we had lunch one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, the next time we meet, let's have lunch at Woo's Wings on the east side." And yeah, and he was like, "F no, bro. Have you?" He's like, "F no, bro. It's not safe over there." And so there are some of those hidden, unaware prejudices that might exist in some of our non-black partners in the state of Oklahoma that might be more need to be more aware of how that affects our economy as a whole, how it affects the state of Oklahoma as a whole, especially if you hear stories about a great restaurant on a certain part of town, and the only thing that's keeping you from over there is the assumption that it might not be safe. Well, while there's businesses going on there, the crime is lower too. You know what I mean? And the infrastructure is improving, and so if anybody's listening that's non-black, I tell you that black folk in Oklahoma aren't racist. But just because it says Black Chamber don't mean it's they don't only want black people there in the events. We want you to show up like we show up at your events and your businesses. We want you to try and experience our culture like we try and experience your culture, and that's to me America. And so I'm gonna get off my tangent. I know you on a tight schedule. I want to see what your thoughts are when we're looking at this whole spectrum, right? We're looking at your work in the community. Now we're taking the leap into politics, and you want to make an impact there. Do you believe that policy versus community, community versus policy, which matters more right now?
Um, I don't think one matters more than the other. It got to be both.
Okay.
Policy, it sets the framework, and then community drives the culture. So not they're not both aligned, then progress stalls. So you just got to think about it like that when we try to do one over the other. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, man. So we need policy that supports what communities are already trying to build. So when I go out in the community in the Black Chamber, we again, it's not a talent or an idea lack, it's an access lack. So people understand that these are the needs. We got people that's from this community, from our communities that want to do better, but they lack the access because the policy or the structures set up don't pour off into the systems that they looking to develop. So it always make you kind of question what are the views of the leaders in our community. I remember growing up and it was on the news and they were ranting and raving about, well, we're going to put $1.4 million in gang and drug task force. I was like, wow, $1.4 million in gang and drug task force. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, have a safe community to live, but I'm thinking that Why don't y'all just pour that off into our community centers and our basketball courts and redefining what our parks look like and giving us access to different build you can how much you can build on 23rd Street to give our children access and our people access to do things with $1.4 million. Rather, no, you rather to armor yourself to think that you're coming to fight crime in our community. Again, like you said, black people are not violent people. We're not
Right.
people that got a history of violence. And contrary to popular,
Right, right,
you know,
right,
right?
exactly.
Like when
Yeah,
have we been violent to you? If
yeah, yeah.
anything, the violence in our community come from a lack of having. So if I
Hmm.
don't have
Poverty
something, then
crimes.
my neighbors probably I'm gonna take it from them.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
now it becomes divisive. You flood our community with guns, then my pride will probably make me make a stupid decision
Right.
because I had nothing else to do but to represent something that I had to represent because I couldn't be on the basketball team. They didn't have
Right.
enough uniforms. So now I'm on these streets and I'm thinking gang banging. I don't
Right.
want to go off a tangent, but I want to make it real for the people that may be listening. The policies that we set at the state house for the state of Oklahoma, for any of our communities across the nation, it has to involve the community. It can't be specific to this policy is a one fix all type of
Right.
policy.
Right.
And I'll give this an example, and just because it's most recent, had a debate last night, and we had a merit question about merit pay for teachers. And it's divided, right? For the most part, most people support it, especially Republicans. They report support it for the rural areas, and then the low performing high risk areas. If you show that you can get these certain test scores, then you will have an issue. You'll get merit pay. You'll get paid for you as a teacher, making sure your students pass tests. So divided by, well, now that creates a precedence that I got to be a perfect teacher. I got to go above and beyond. And that's not necessarily the case. Our teachers are underpaid. But what I'm saying is, in the House, it's going to be widely supported. So Republicans going to pass it whether we like it or not. So my stance is, what do we come in to say how this policy has an effect on our community? We're not gonna win the battle of, hey, I'm not for it and whatever, let's scratch our bill. They're gonna vote the bill in no matter what. But how do we get a piece of it? Because we're already outnumbered. Look, can we shift that policy where we're allowed to embed certain things in our community that makes the most sense rather than this blanket approach? Because when you create that for our community, yes, the rural areas love it because they're probably gonna hit their numbers and they're gonna get the merit pay because they have the least amount of distractions. But our urban areas are probably gonna struggle. It turns into a competition. It turns in I'm not valued enough, and what I do and what I bring to the table is not being
Yeah.
recognized, so I don't get that merit pay. When the overall problem is our teachers are underpaid, they're
Right.
under supported, and you see them leaving our community. If we want to fix that, we got to fix it holistically. Yeah, I'm kudos to giving them something rather than nothing. So we'll take that. But what's the long-term solution so we can secure our teachers that are currently present and also create a pipeline of individuals that want to become teachers? That's why it's important that if we set certain policies, they have to relate also to all communities, probably individually. And that's how I look at it. And that's the type of things that I lead if I get this seat at the state capitol.
If you mean when you get the seat, come on now, we're getting that seat. Uh,
It's all
y-
about the people, man. Sometimes
yeah,
I tell people, I don't know what God is calling me to do. He said, I need you to run for this position, but it could be a simple fact that putting my name in the hat will make other candidates shape up to lead in the right direction. And I
yeah,
stay put, which I'll stay with the Black Chamber no matter what. However, it may not be that was the calling. So I don't want to get it misconstrued. I'm bringing it. I'm going to tell them why I'm the best fit. And if people vote for me, we going to get the job done. That's plain and simple. However, the if part is I don't know what God may, shift. Great job. I just make sure these guys are going to be prepared to go lead accordingly. Now let's get back onto business here. I don't know yet. So I'm not that person to go in and get my feelings hurt thinking that it was meant for me and God had another, plan. So yeah, definitely going to get it, but I'll let the people decide that. And so we'll see.
That's what's up, man. So we're coming into our closing, and you've shaped your vision that you see for um, East Side North District 99. You shared a little bit about your vision for the chamber. Now, if we know you're on a run for 99, I want to know what it's all going to look like if we cannot create this change. If nothing changes, if we can't be specific per the community for the policy, if we can't get other people to come in from outside of our community or the East Side community, to inside East Side Oklahoma City to have that experience, if we can't get more leaders involved with shaping um, the future of District 99, what does the future look like if nothing changes?
If nothing changes, then we go back to widening the gap, plain and simple. So if you don't change anything, more people, more hardworking people, they'll be working hard, but they'll still be falling behind. More talent will be going untapped. You talking about, but there's so much that just happened in that scenario, and it seems that that's kind of where we are. We haven't done anything with, so the gap is only widening. But overall, man, I'm optimistic. We
Yeah.
got a lot of great leaders, especially in our community, that's making stuff happen. So we're at a point where we know what changes need to happen, and people are stepping up to the plate. And I'm super proud to partner with all of those folks. I mean, even you, bro. I mean, you popping out and making things happen and stepping up. Where can I be of help? Because that means you're trusting the leadership that is set before us. That's what it takes, is somebody to believe in the community, believe in the leaders that's stepping up to the plate from all different walks of life. I don't do this alone. I have a beautiful board of 14 other folks. I got a COO. I didn't loop my wife in to oversee the ambassador program. So we're building a system where we're going to do really well as a Black Chamber to handle business. But all of the connections that I make are not only specifically for the Black Chamber, it's for our community as a whole. So when God has called me to this state representative position for District 99, that's widening, that's widening our opportunities rather than our gaps. And so keeping those partnerships, connecting with everybody, and we're building this ecosystem to make sense. And I'm optimistic that we're gonna get it done, but
Yeah.
it just takes conversations like this, people listening to the entire podcast and soaking in what's possible. And so I appreciate you giving a platform for us to talk about it. So that's
Absolutely.
to say.
Yeah, man, this is second of many. I don't want to hold up. I had a couple more questions, but maybe on our second one,
Yeah.
we can start on those last three questions that I did have. But listen, Dr. Carlos, I admire you. I just got off of a conversation with someone about mentorship, and he mentioned, hey, a mentor is someone that you don't even know personally, that you never had conversation with. And he told me, one of his mentors was Dave Chappelle. And he was like, he tells kids that all the time. And whenever he tells kids that, kids are like, oh, you know Dave Chappelle? And he was like, no, I don't. But I like the way he tells stories. I like certain things that he does. And that was a really good point. And it kind of brings it back home to me towards you. Like, I like how you navigate a room. I like that you care. I like that you've been at every level of what people say, the hood or the ghetto or whatever, the rough community. You've been at every level, and you've been able to go and navigate through all that and be the person that you are. And so to me, you are my long distance mentor, and I appreciate all the work that you do and continue to do. If I lived in District 99, I would vote for you. And people that are listening, I'm endorsing Dr. Carlos Robertson. If you got families over there in District 99, man, y'all tell him to pull up to the poll. When's voting?
So June 16th will be the first time the primary. So Tuesday,
Okay.
June 16th. Pull up, man. Vote for
Yeah,
your boy. Even if
that's
you never
right.
voted in your life, this is the time
Yeah,
to vote for somebody that's like you, man. That's
that's
part
right.
of the community. They embedded. That's real. That's authentic.
That's right. Yeah. So tell us, how can we find you? How can we support your campaign?
Absolutely. So everything that I got going, is at Dr. Carlos for OKC. So even my email, Dr. Carlos at drcarlosforokc.com. My website, drcarlosforokc.com. You can follow me on my personal social media at Do It Like Dr. Carlos. So all of those platforms, you're going to see the wave. You'll feel the wave. You'll see people corroborating my story, supporting, endorsing, all of the things. So I'm just asking people to pull up, man, one time for yourself. It's one of them. So you voting for a candidate that's homegrown in this community, that's born and raised. This ain't something that I'm gonna start doing. I'm already doing the work. You put me in the house, then we're gonna do greater work. We'll align the things that we're building through the Black Chamber and our community as a whole with that state representative seat. So man, I look forward to just seeing the love being poured into me, and I can continue to pour right back into my community, man. So let's go. Let's step up.
That's right. Dr. Carlos, I appreciate you, man. You are America. This is America Podcast. I appreciate y'all for listening. Dr. Carlos, salute to you.
Man, appreciate you, brother. Salute
Yes, sir.
to you. All love.